Dear students, warm welcome to all. Today we are discussing our first chapter, that means know the plant world closely. So we are familiar with different types of plants. Okay, you are familiar with different types of plants around us in our surroundings. So today we are going to know or want to know about the plants. These plants and how they are helpful to human beings and how they help us. We can depend the plants mainly as a part of our food item. So if you are considering that for one item we are considering is sambar is we are eating as a part of our lunch, that include different types of plants is there, and from that plants we are collecting this type of vegetables and fruits, etc. And which are the parts help us? In some plants we are depending their roots, like carrot, beetroot, etc. We are depending the roots of the plant. And in some plants we are depending their leaves, the leafy plants. For amaranthus, that means our chira, etc. we are depending their leaves. In some plants we are depending their flower as a part of their edible part for our food, cauliflower, cabbage, etc. Thus we are depending that plants, their flower we are depends. So in a plant there are different parts we are depending as a part for our food. Okay, these plants help us for the growth of human beings, because food is an essential thing. From food we are get the energy to do our activities. So food is an essential part of human life. As a part of food, if you are considering, the plants are very important. So we want to know about the plants, different parts of plants and what are the uses. I think you have studied related with these things in your 4th standard. In this year, we are closely want to know about the plants and how we get the food items from the plant, and what are the things behind this. Okay, so there are different plants. We are using the plants not only for food purpose. There are different purposes are there. Okay, medicinal purpose, as a part of spices, etc. We are depending these plants. And in your textbook, do you see that different materials or plants are given, their parts are given there. And there's a part of spices, we are using different types of plants. And there is a picture in your textbook, so you are closely watch that picture, you can identify that plants. And also that include in your first chapter, in first page, there are different plants and their parts. You are familiar with root, leaf, stem, flower, etc. are the parts of plants. Now we are going to discuss about these plants and their importance, how the plants give us the food items, and which are the parts we are depend on the plants. Okay, edible part, that eatable part of a plant. There is a main topic in the first chapter. First we are covering that area, the edible part of a plant. Edible part, that means eatable part of a plant. So if you are consider carrot, as I explained before, we are depend the root of that plant. In the case of a cauliflower, this name is there, cauliflower, there we are depending the flower of that plant. Okay, in some cases we are depending different parts. In the case of tapioca also we are depending the root. Okay, then in the case of amaranthus we are depend the stem and also the leaf, especially the leaf. Okay, these are the parts we are depending on the plants for their food purpose, or the edible part, the eatable parts. Now students, you just list out in your science diary familiar 5 or 6 plants, and which are the edible parts of that plant. That is familiar to you around your surroundings. You just collect or select 5 or 6 plants and write the names of the corresponding plants and which part we are using as a part of our food item or edible part. and write in your science diary. So we are going to closely related with the plants. It is very important and very interesting things, because as a student, especially a science studying student, those who want to know especially related with our surroundings. We have studied basic science or environmental science. That means we want to know the student, those who know about our surroundings. So it is important you just closely watch a plant. So observation is an important thing in science. So these are foundation steps of your higher classes. You are in UP section. So we have started our studies, especially our science. So this is correlated with human beings and also with our surrounding. So students, please carefully study your surroundings and carefully observe your surroundings and understand what are the things and what are the creations are around us that help the human beings in different ways. So here we are discussing about plants. The important thing, all the animals are depend the plants mainly for their food. Other things are there especially for their food. So we also depend the plants for getting our food. How the plants produce their food? Do you know how the plants produce their food? That's also in lower classes we have studied. That process is known as photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is the preparation of food by plants. They prepare the food and they store it for their purpose. And we are depending these plants to get that food materials. That food material or the storing the food materials in different ways. So for the purpose of photosynthesis, the plant is an important role. That means that need carbon dioxide and water. This process takes place in the presence of sunlight, sunny days, or in the presence of sunlight, the plants prepare their food. And that process takes place in the method or their kitchen is their leaf. From the leaf, they are preparing their food. That need what? Carbon dioxide and in the presence of sunlight. This process is known as photosynthesis. So students, we are going to discuss about the photosynthesis. Look at the picture given is related with photosynthesis. The green plants, their leaf contain a pigment that is known as chlorophyll. With the help of the chlorophyll, they prepare their food. For that purpose, that need carbon dioxide and water. In the presence of sunlight and the presence of chlorophyll, they prepare their food. Okay, they prepare their food, and as in the form of glucose, it is converted to glucose and liberate oxygen. This is, do you know, in lower classes, at the time of photosynthesis, plants take carbon dioxide and release oxygen. At the time of photosynthesis, plants take carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So they utilize the carbon dioxide as a part of their preparation of food. As a part of preparing food, they liberate oxygen. And the oxygen that liberated to the atmosphere, we are utilized. That's like human beings, as a part of their respiration, they are using this oxygen. Okay, as a part of photosynthesis, the byproduct is oxygen. The oxygen liberated to the atmosphere that makes the glucose. Then the glucose is later converted to carbohydrates, and they are stored this in different parts of the plants. Depending on the storage, we are utilizing different parts of the plants for our purpose of food. Okay, now the next thing, in the case of plants, we are just discussed, they utilize their leaf. From the leaf, they are using for preparing food. If we can observe closely the leaf, the bisection, if you are cut the portion and the bisection of the leaf you are observed using a microscope, we can see a small pores in that leaf. That pores are known as stomata. That small pores, if you are observed through a microscope, we can name or we gave the name for that small pores as stomata. Okay, the stomata, through that the transport of oxygen and nutrients will be related with atmosphere takes place. So this small pores that given in that picture is known as stomata. That can be observed, it is not able to see with our naked eye. We can easily does not see that with our naked eye. For seeing that small particles or small portions, we want to use microscopes. So the microscopes are the instrument that help us to see these minute things. I think you are familiar with a microscope. There is a picture of microscope is given there. Okay, there are different parts for a microscope. Through that parts we are observing, it is possible to observe the stomata of a plant in their leaf. Okay, students, this is the first portion of our class. You just tabulate the ideas related with your chapter and go through the chapter and up to where you just note these things in your science diary. Okay, thank you.